In 3.2, we're going to go over how organisms get their energy, and that can happen in different ways, depending on the organism. Primary producers make their own food. So you see that they produce their own food. That's why they're called producers. The ultimate source of energy is the sun. And if you trace back, even if you have a meat eater, an exclusively meat eater, like a big cat, for instance, the meat upon which that cat feeds is probably herbivore meat, plant eaters. So the energy that's inside that animal came from plants, and the energy from the plants, or the energy that's in the plants, came from the sun. Plants, algae, and certain bacteria capture energy from sunlight or chemicals and make their own food. These are called autotrophs or primary producers. Those are synonyms. They store energy in forms that make it available to other organisms that eat them, and so they're essential to the flow of energy through the biosphere. Plants obtain energy from sunlight through the process of photosynthesis. They turn it into glucose, that's the nutrient that's mentioned there, that can be eaten and used for energy by animals such as the caterpillar. The best known and most common primary producers do photosynthesis. Here's a review of the process of photosynthesis. We have carbon dioxide and water and light energy going in to produce carbohydrates and oxygen. Glucose is the particular form of carbohydrate that's produced in photosynthesis. It's energy rich. It adds oxygen to the atmosphere, which it's a byproduct of photosynthesis. It's not used by the plants, but it's used by aerobic organisms. The other thing that plants do is they remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and that's important to know for a little bit later on. Plants are the photosynthesizers on land. Algae photosynthesize in freshwater ecosystems and the sunlit upper ocean. Photosynthetic bacteria, that are called cyanobacteria for the most part, are the primary producers in tidal flats and salt marshes. Deep in the ocean, there are thriving ecosystems even without light. What you see here is a volcanic vent. This is a lanternfish, like the guy in Finding Nemo. You can't really see the light very well, the bioluminescent light here, so I put another picture here so that you could see what that actually looks like. Primary producers without light harness chemical energy from molecules like hydrogen sulfide. The use of chemical energy to produce carbohydrates instead of light energy is called chemosynthesis. So the overall reaction here, you have carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, and oxygen to produce carbohydrates and sulfur compounds. So those are the producers. Organisms that have to get their food, their nutrients, their energy from other organisms are called heterotrophs, which are also called consumers. Those are synonyms also. They consume other sources of food. Omnivores are consumers that eat both plants and animals. Humans, bears, and pigs are all omnivores. Carnivores kill and eat other animals. Snakes, dogs, cats, river otter is down below. Catching and killing prey can be difficult and require energy. but the payoff is big. Scavengers are animals that consume the carcasses of other animals that have been killed by predators or have died of other causes. This is like a king vulture. Decomposers are bacteria and fungi. They break down organic matter. The decay caused by decomposers is part of the process that produces detritus, which is small pieces of dead and decaying plant and animal remains. Detritivores are like the giant earthworm you see in the picture. These guys feed on the detritus particles that are produced by the bacteria and fungi. They often chew them or grind them into smaller pieces. Detritivores also commonly digest decomposers that live on and in detritus particles. We have our herbivores that are plant eaters. Putting consumers into categories doesn't really explain the true complexity of nature, because herbivores that eat different plant parts can differ in the way they get their food and digest their food. So there's a lot more variety than classifying organisms into just herbivore, carnivore, omnivore with the consumers, or decomposer or detritivore. Sometimes organisms don't act exactly like we think they do also. Carnivores will scavenge if they need to. Aquatic animals can eat algae, bits of carcasses, and detritus. So we have to get a little bit more descriptive, a little bit more specific when we're talking about how energy and nutrients move through ecosystems. These are the basics, but organisms don't always behave the way we classify them or the way we expect them to. There are always extenuating circumstances.